Hello and welcome to another night shift. My name is Yazil, and today we want to see how we can save these items we made the last time into a database. I show you something I already made a couple while ago. It was the October special for the patrons, and we just start up the server here. So you see there's the DB plugin and the MySQL and of course my helper plugin in there. And I made a plugin for, or what I made a tool for manipulating the race database. And I already gave my Patreons code for that. So it's basically the same we made last time, and we got a race here, and you know already all the table race, and it's getting the tables on startup. I'm gonna show you that out of the DB plugin. And so it moves to the database and gets the rows out of there. And let's bring that back on. And if you save something here, it will be saved to the database. You can add and stuff like that. So everything comes out of the database and will be shown in the Unity editor. So that's the plan for today. We're starting up with, let me close that. We're starting up with our database or our dark rift. So you just go ahead, you have here your server with the plugins and stuff like that in. And there are different ways to do that. I decided for now just to copy these things. So I just copy and put that in there again. So slow today. Unbelievable. And in the copy I rename that to whatever, item server. So in the item server you go to plugins and you just delete everything you don't need. That one you don't have, but these one you don't need, these one you don't need, so you just get rid of that. And of course you don't need the stuff here. So, and then you go here in our settings of the server, and let's move that here. Oh, cancel. And you just change the port to something you don't have, like 334 for my case. And we save that. Oops. Save and close. And if you start the server, then well, it says we have the MySQL connector and the helper plugin, and we are listening on 334. So there are different ways to do that. For the one way is we just secure the port 334 with the firewall and just don't let the manipulation happen from outside. Or you go and check for a password in the user. You know how to do that. I for once just secure that with a firewall, and so nobody can have access to that except me, and my IP number is allowed. So we open the Visual Studio, and we open a new project, and we go for a class library, of course, and well, you can go here, but I go for the 4.6, and I call it item, well, DB item, or items, and let's do something like that. So, and browse and go for my, let's see where it is. It's an O Unity projects across item server and source, and we go in that source and we create the directory, of course, and gonna say okay. And there's our new project, and I guess we copy something in, so that's a little bit easier. So after we opened up in the new project, we first of all go to our references and add in the references dark rift and transmission. If you don't know how to do that, add references here, browse for your DLLs. In my case, they are on project across item server lib transmission and lib dark rift, and you just add them here, and we rename our C# script to db items. And when we have that, we going to have here the using dark rift, the dark rift config tools, and the dark rift storage for the DBs, and we have system and system collection generics, and we open up a namespace, in my case db items. So in the db items we have a class db items, and it comes from plugins, and we got a couple things in here. We have the normal plugin top, the variables, and the public db item function. Also, we have the on server message, which is for getting the connections or the information out of the connection. And we have our debug command, which switches on the debug, and we have the normal stuff for on color or log color, so we can color the text which will be outputted into the dark rift window. So let's start up with the plugin top, and that's normal stuff for every plugin. So we need the name, the version, and we need to define the commands we have. We have an author and we have the support email. So it's just public override string, name, get return, and this stuff here. You know that already, so that's basically what you'd have to do for every plugin in dark rift. And especially here in commands, we have the command item debug. So if you want to have like db on or something, you have to change that here, and you have to have the string, which is the function you call when this is going on. So that is this command, and it's just sets the variable db and stuff like that. So you know that already from our other plugins we made. So let's close that, and now we're going to have our variables, and we have of course a private config reader, and I call it settings, as in all plugins so we did before. We have a private byte item tag, which is the network connection tag, and we have 3 U-shorts, which are the subjects for dark rift. So it's item add, item read, item save. And then of course we have the private bool debug underscore debug, and I set it to false in the beginning. So that's easy, and we have that in several other plugins already. Then we have our function db items, which is the start function for these DLL, and in this function you install the plugin and you read the variables out of our settings files. So if it's not installed, we go and install the subject directory and the directory string, and byte in there, and the byte is of course what we have here. So the string name is settings CNF, and the bytes we have in here is the dictionary for item tag, item add, item read, and item save, and our debug variable. And I defined the item tag to be 7 and the add, read, and save to 1, 2, 3, and the debug to true. So when we load this stuff, the debug will be on. So next is we gonna try and install the database. And here for our item database, in the first step, I just wanted to create a table, which I called table item. I could do items, or item is okay. And I just have an ID in there, which is not null and auto increments and is a private primary key. And for just start, I have an item name in there, and it's in Varchar and can't be null. So that's our database, and the query, we don't have any query because we just create something, so we don't have anything to add there. After that, we catch the database exception, and if something happens, we will be notified in the interface. You also could do interface log, not the interface logs, you could do the log color using here, but since we use log arrow, it will be red anyway. So that is the part where the plugin will be installed and thus create the database and the file and stuff like that. Then we got in settings, it's a new config reader subdirectory, and the subdirectory is normally the plugin name. And here we have the file, it's settings.cnf, and we just read the vars. So we're going to fill up the dictionary, and it's just if not bypass settings, we're looking for the db item tag, which is the first part out of our dictionary here, and we want to have the second thing, which is the 7 here, and we save that in our variable item tag, and that we do for the item add, item read, and item save. While we have a byte here, we have use shorts here, and for our debug we got a bool, and we save that in the debug variable. So that's all for reading the vars in a moment. We just don't have any more information in our settings file. And the last thing we do in the startup is we bind ourselves to the connection or to the event on server message. So if the server is going to get information or a network packet, we want to see this network packet. So this is the function we call is on server message, and on server message we automatically get the connection, and we got the data which will be transferred, so we know who is contacting us and what he wants from us. So what he wants from us is just quite easy. We're going to see if the data.tag is equal to the item tag. So if it's equal to 7 here, we or the packet is for us, and if it's for us, we check if the subject is something we have here. So it's a 1, 2, or 3. If it's one of these, we want to do something here. And next is the debug command, which is quite easy. We just return the if the debug is true, we set it to false, and if it's false, we set it to true. And then we just going for, oh, that's from my copy, so we want to log something, and we say db item debug. Debug is, and then it's true or false. And to complete that, we just have the log color, and which is just we set the console foreground color to a color we have here in here, and we going to interface log the text, and then we set the color back to white. So that's quite easy. It's a standard plugin setup for Darkrift. We did that a couple of times, but this we will need for our next video. So that means this is the end of the video. So let's build that for the last action. We build that. Then we go into our folder, which is item server, plugin source, where it is, there, debug, and we going for item DLL, copy that, and going to item server, plugins, and going to have that in there. We delete that. It is from a test from the last time. So just it's always the same. If you change something in the database or in the settings, you have to get rid of these folders, so the plugin will be installed new. So we start that up. So, and we got an error here. Let's put it up. So it tells us we got an error in our SQL and on line 9, syntax near empty. Oh well, that's cool. Let's see. And it should be here in this part. This is the SQL. And let's check the brackets. It's there's one, there's the other, there's one, and here should we got the error already. So let's put in a bracket here, save again, and build the tool. Going for the server we started, we close that, and going back here in the source items, db items, bin debug, go for our plugin folder and copy that in there. We'll replace that and start up the server, and as we can see here, the server is listening on 3334, and the MySQL connector is started up, the DB item is started up, and the helper plugin also. Let's go for help, and we see the DB items, the item debug function is there, the command is there. And then let's go for our workbench and going for a refresh. And we see something is wrong here because our table is not generated. So I guess we forgot to delete the plugin folder here, so it wouldn't be installed new. We go and no, here, delete that, close our server and start the server again. Again, it's coming up, and we go for our workbench and say refresh, and now we got a table item here, and in the table item there should be two items or two rows, columns. It's the ID and the item name with nothing in there. So of course we have to expand that with our stuff, but in general we are ready for a rock here. So that was it for the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you liked it even more, hit the subscribe button. And special thanks to Terence for my top Patreon. And yeah, well, see you next time. Bye bye.